Hey guys, so this is about the worst job that I've ever had, and I'm gonna cut it into two different parts. This first part I'll call the time I got fired from my job for a day. So here's the story. I get hired at this financial institution. I'm super excited because it's a new skill set for me. Just so happens though that at the time that I was hired, there was just a massive workload, just a lot of stuff going on. Also, my boss, we were a department of two, it was just me and her. She was going through medical issues, so she would take a day or two or three or a week off. That kind of stuff was happening. So let's just say I didn't have the best training. So it turned out that she was actually uh, really sick, and she had to go through surgery. She took off like a month and a half, something like that. So it was just me, and I'm just trying to keep things afloat. So she comes back, and it's like maybe a couple of days afterwards. There's one morning when I come into work and just everything is cleared off of my desk. She comes in, calls me into her office, and says, "Hey, I noticed there was a whole bunch of paperwork on your desk, so I got nervous and I wanted to talk to you about this." So I said, well, all of the time sensitive stuff has been done. It was just more I had questions about filing and how to file, where to file, that sort of stuff. And she says something along the lines of, it's super important to make sure that we don't get behind on anything. And I agree. I said, yeah, totally, I agree. So she goes, "I'm going to show you how to do everything, and then that'll be our plan. We'll just catch up." I said, "Perfect." So she shows me. I go back to my desk and I start just knocking stuff out of the park. Well, I think it might have been that same day or the next. I don't really remember, but I get called into the conference room by the HR manager, and so it's the manager and my boss is there as well. And so basically they said we just wanted to write this up and document it so that we have this on file. And I'm thinking like, okay, for admin stuff. Oh, I thought it was extreme, but I just okay, that's fine. So they show me the write up, and in addition to the stuff that we had agreed upon, I noticed there was a whole bunch of other stuff that was just like blatantly false, just incorrect stuff, and I didn't know how to respond. I really was frozen. Like, do I say anything? Like, how do I say this? I just didn't. I've never been in any experience like that before. So I said, "Hey, do you mind?" Because it was almost lunch. It was actually past lunch. I said, "Do you mind if I just take my lunch break and so I could just think about all of this?" And the HR manager goes, "Oh, that's fine. Sure, go ahead, take your break." And we come back after lunch. We all come back and we'll sign this and move on. Fine. So I go to lunch with my partner and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, "Quit." And as much as I wanted to, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go back. I'm just gonna sign it and I'm gonna prove them wrong because I know that I'm a great employee. So that was my plan. I go back in. My boss goes on her break. She comes back. Before anything could even happen, the HR assistant, who was new, goes into her office. They close the door, and then about 10 minutes later, the assistant comes into my office and says, "Well, since you don't want to sign this, we're letting you go." I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." So then she goes, "We just need for you to sign this." So she hands me a piece of paper, and it's the write-up. And the thing about the write-up, though, is that like at the top, it was something along the lines of, I don't plan on cooperating with the suggestions, the corrective actions, and so I'm good. This is my notice, or something like that. And so I just said, hey, and that's the part that she wanted me to sign. I'm like, I'm just a little bit confused because this stuff here is talking more about my two, like it sounds like a notice, and I'm not giving my notice. So she goes, "Okay, just hold on." So she goes to the back. A few minutes later, the HR manager comes into the office and goes, "Hey, I just want to, cause me and her were pretty tight." She goes, I just want to say I'm sorry how all this played out, and I wish things would have been different, and it's just so sad that you're giving your notice." And I'm like, I'm not giving my notice. I was let go." And she goes, No, you weren't." I'm like, "I'm so confused now." I said, You better talk to your assistant because she just told me you guys were letting me go." She goes, "No, don't move, stay right here." Okay, so she leaves. About 10, 15 minutes later, the assistant comes back in my office and goes, "Okay, so we discussed it and we've decided that we are in fact letting you go." I said, "Okay, fine." So she hands me the piece of paper. It's the same write-up. So I'm like, I don't understand. And she goes, well, you know, at the bottom it says this is a right to work stay, and we can let you go if we feel like you're not performing to our satisfaction, and so we're going to use that part of it. I said, fine. At this point, I just wanted to leave, so I signed, I leave. My partner's like, did you get a termination letter? I said, no. He goes, go back in and get one. You need one for unemployment. I didn't know any of this. You know, this is all new to me. So I go back in, ask to speak to the assistant, trying to explain how I need an actual termination letter. At this point, the branch manager sees me. She comes over, what's going on. I explain to her what's going on, and she looks at the assistant and goes, I don't understand what the problem is here. He needs a letter. Get him a letter now. So the assistant goes to the back, comes back with a letter, sealed for some reason in an envelope. So I open it, of course, to make sure, and then bye, deuces, I leave. So the first thing I do, I don't know if this is a helpful tip or not, but this is what I did. In the car, I wrote down the entire experience, everything that happened, and I mailed it to myself that day, just so that there wouldn't be any question that I was trying to modify the story from what happened, upon reflection or anything like that. This was exactly what happened, and that's what I did. So the next day, I get a call from the HR manager saying, hey, do you mind coming in? Your boss's boss would like to speak with you. He was on vacation, so I thought, how? He's coming back in early. He really wants to talk to you. I said, okay. So I go in the next day, speak to my boss's boss, and I said, hey, I totally agreed that there were things that I needed to work on, but that stuff in the write-up, a lot of it was just incorrect. And so I asked to see the write-up. They show it to me, and I'm pointing out things. And the thing is, this stuff was so obvious that as I'm saying stuff, you could see their eyes just getting bigger and bigger, like, oh my God. It was so obvious, so I'm like, and I didn't know how to respond. I didn't want to lash out or I said, so that's why I just wanted to calm down and just think about how I was going to respond. So basically I was told, well, we don't consider you fired. To us, you're still an employee. We want you to come back and, blah, 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 blah. So I said, can I just have 3 requests? The first one, I said, I want the write-up off of my record because obviously I've proven that it's incorrect. I said, secondly, if I apply for another position, I don't want for this incident to have any effect on that. And thirdly, I said, I just want 5 minutes to speak with my boss. I just want to know if we can actually work together and be in the same space together, because I don't know what's going on, and I'm not going to be confrontational or aggressive or anything. I just want to know if we can actually, how that would actually work, because it was such a weird experience. So basically what I got was the write-up. Maybe we'll do another one just so that we can document the issues. The second, as far as applying for another position, oh no, we promise it won't be held against you. That was incorrect. That's another story. And then third, the HR manager went to my manager and came back and said, oh, I asked her and she just broke down in tears and she's so devastated and she's just a wreck and she can't talk to you right now. Yeah, she was the wreck in all of this. So she said, okay, the manager said, we'll just take the rest of today off, take tomorrow off. The next working day was actually Veterans Day, and there was going to be an all-day event. So she's like, just think about it. If you decide, we hope you come back, please just come to the event. So that's how that was left, and that's the end of this part. So tune in for part 2. Bye.